Greetings, fellow conquerors, and welcome to another single-player recap. And today I'll be going over the Knights. Well, the Knights of Rhodes, specifically. The Knights Hospitaller, or Hospitaller, however you want to pronounce that. Yes, the Knights of Rhodes. A lot of people have been asking for this, and I actually promised it back in my 2,500 subscribers video. So if you were holding out for it, don't worry. I have been working on this for some time. And I wanted to completely finish the campaign before I posted this video, but honestly I didn't think it was that necessary because I think most people were focusing more on like how do you actually start this campaign rather than like how do you, play the late game after you've crushed everything. So without further ado, let's talk about the Knights. So, first and foremost, we need to look at, for any nation, one of the things you'll be interested in knowing off the bat is what your ideas are going to be, so let's talk about those. So, Knights Hospitaller start out with plus 5% discipline and tolerance of heretics plus 4. These are extremely strong ideas that are actually getting nerfed in Rights of Man, so, cry every time, basically. I think the tolerance of heretics is either getting completely removed or just changed to, like, plus 1. It's just getting completely nerfed to oblivion, which is really sad, I think, because it was one of the things that made this nation special, in my opinion. In case you don't know, Knights of Rhodes, right here. And, First and foremost, your country, your island starts out Orthodox, and you're Catholic. So that's great. Without further ado, though, rest of the ideas. So first we get Defense of the Faith, which increases fort defense plus 25%. Really cheesy and troll thing to do, especially if you have defensive ideas as well, which I think I actually ended up taking as my first idea group. Next we have Assistance to the Suffering, and we get Manpower Recovery plus 15%. Very strong idea, overall, I would say. Stacks really well with quantity, obviously. Next we get the Tongues of Knights. We get Diplomatic Relations plus 1. Really good for securing alliances, or getting extra alliances, I should say. Next we get Reconquista of the Sea, which gives Galley Combat Ability plus 20% and Privateer Efficiency plus 25%. Pretty good naval idea, I would say. Especially that Galley Combat Ability. Next we get Ecumenical Defenders of Christendom, which gives National Unrest minus 2. Very strong idea. I like it quite a lot. Next we get Scourge of the Corsairs, which gives Naval Force Limit modifier plus 50%. Very good, and especially once you establish yourself here in the Aegean, and just in this general, in the Mediterranean as a whole, with your, massive galleys, you'll basically be able to pull a Venice and kill everyone in the seas. Lastly, we get Crusader Tradition, which gives you the Army Tradition plus 0.5, which is pretty good, I would say. It's a decent idea. And then, lastly, for your ambitions, you get Yearly Papal Influence plus 2, so obviously whatever you do as the Knights, you want to stay, Catholic. Now, what did I do in this? Well, first of all, I wasn't playing on Iron Man, and I don't typically play on Iron Man for these achievements, or it's not really an achievement, for these playthroughs, just because, obviously I want to be able to see, like, what works and how to actually do this, and to do that I basically need to be able to save, to try different tactics and see what works. So, I find this start to be really similar to Byzantium, and this is actually from my 1455 start, so this took me 11 years to accomplish, but I found that as long as they don't rival you, that Venice is a good ally to make, especially since they usually rival the Ottomans themselves. And Poland is also the biggest ally you'll be looking for. And one of the benefits of being the Knights is that you start out Catholic, unlike Byzantium, which allows you to net an alliance with Poland a lot easier than you would think, despite being so small and so far away. Which is, obviously what you want to go for. And I would recommend, if you're playing this, make sure that Venice and Poland rival the Ottomans. If you want the ideal start. And then, once you do that, you can pretty easily get an alliance with those two, since you're threatened by the Ottomans, and then they'll be more than willing to go to war with them when you finally decide to attack. Now, as I said, though, this takes a while, and it actually took me 11 years of waiting to get these alliances set up, so, obviously, you may want to wait for a start where you get a statesman as well, as that may be a big selling point for your nation, since you're a monastic order and can't actually do royal marriages to get that extra little bit of diplomatic oomph. Now let's go through these saves. I believe this was right before I started my first war with the Ottomans, and what you want to wait for with the Ottomans is you want to make sure that Poland, or at least Lithuania's military tech, is at least the same as the Ottomans, because if they're at a lower tech, they're basically going to get obliterated in the early game. Just by sheer virtue of Ottomans having ridiculous unit pips in the early game, and I believe they start out with a pretty crazy general as well. Oh yeah, one more thing. Poland needs to get Lithuania in a personal union, or this does not work. So just another heads up on that. Alright, so this is after my first war. It took, the war took 5 years. We took a weird variety of nations here. I didn't want to get my overextension too high, especially considering that, like, if we look at the religious map mode, none of these provinces are Catholic. That's a problem, and it's why I ended up taking religious ideas as my first idea group, just so I could start converting these a lot quicker. And an Inquisitor is definitely an advisor you'll want to be looking for. Dealing with these rebels is also going to be a pretty difficult task, I would say, in general. So just be on the lookout for that. But as you can see, I released Epirus and Achaia as independent states. Venice ended up capitalizing on that and attacking them, which kind of sucked. But yeah, then 25 years went by without a hitch, and we'll just go ahead and fast forward to that. As you can see, another 25 years, we've managed to take up, more, take a little bit of Serbia, take a little bit more of Ottoman land as well. So, it'll just keep expanding and things will keep getting better. I did pick up Deus Vult as quickly as I could, because the thing about being the Knights is, if you're Catholic here, literally no one is Catholic around here, which means you will always have a casus belli. So if a nation gets released, as Bulgaria does at some point here, you can declare war on them basically instantly, without, basically no problems, and your life will be pretty easy. Now I have this BS save here, and I was really worried because in the past, religious rebels used to, if they took over your capital, convert your entire nation to Orthodox, or to whatever nation the Zealots happen to be. And I had a group of rebels take my capital, and siege it down. I managed to defeat their army, but I had like 2 months to win like a 7% siege on my capital, and so I just kept saving until that changed. Only to find out that it doesn't actually work that way anymore, and you just get like a tolerance penalty for like 10-20 years or something like that. But yeah. We'll fast forward another 40 years. And as you can see, being Western here is a huge boon, because everyone around you is obviously not Western. So you'll basically always have a tech advantage, and you can capitalize on a number of ways. I went with defensive ideas personally, because morale in the early game is really strong. Quantity ideas is also another really good pick, I would say. Quality even works. Ironically, offensive is like the only one that like you wouldn't get too much out of, because you're not fighting equal opponents where a better general would matter. You're fighting opponents with less pips, less morale, that you're basically going to beat no matter what. And so cheaper troops or just flat out better troops are going to do you more than better generals. Though obviously better generals are never a bad thing, and the siege speed is good as well, but at the same time, like, it's just not as big of a deal. Plus the reduced attrition from defensive and quantity are also going to help you in all these arid provinces that are, not exactly great. And from here, once you basically become the Ottomans, your life is great, and everything spirals out of control. I would recommend highly taking religious and not humanist in this playthrough, because there is no way you're going to be able to meet all of the religious unity, even with the bonus that you get from humanist. You need to convert these provinces to Catholicism. Speaking of which, getting bonuses from the the church, the Catholic Church, is going to be another great aid to you. I should have mentioned earlier, though, once you get into Greece a little bit, Austria is usually more than willing to pick up an alliance, especially if they have rivaled the Ottomans, if you get lucky in that regard. Though it is by no means necessary. It is nice. And then they would actually end up being, being a good ally later when we decided to turn on Poland, when they ended up rivaling us. Which we can see here. And then, yeah, things just kind of spiraled out of control here. Once you're in this position, life is pretty easy, and you can just kind of play however you want to play, do whatever you want to do. Trade ideas obviously would be a good pick here. I went with diplomatic instead of influence ideas, And there's a very specific reason I did that in this playthrough, and I would recommend doing as well. If you plan on doing this for the Iron Man achievement to become Jerusalem, because I formed Jerusalem, and it sucked, because I became a kingdom again, and kingdoms suck. Compared to monastic orders. However, the problem is if you stay a monastic order, then you can't become higher than a duchy rank government, and that's a problem. So, what I did is, because I had religious ideas almost done, and because I had diplomatic ideas done, I just became a religious order again, which I also believe are getting nerfed in Rights of Man, which is unfortunate, but after this, it was pretty much smooth sailing. We'll just go through a couple of these other saves. Like 20 years from now, we've grown by another like 100 development, 150 development or so. We've expanded into Poland using Austria as our ally, and after this, we got to Tech 16. Everyone else around us is still like Tech 12. And basically, at this point, by 1600, we have just completely dominated the opposition, and we can freely expand eastward as much as we want to because we have Deus Vult, and we can convert provinces with lightning speed. Now, Jerusalem gets similar ideas to the Knights, but they're not as good, in my opinion. You do get some nice things. You still get 5% discipline. You get better missionary strength, which is nice. You get bonus manpower, which is okay. I mean, it's better than okay. 25% manpower is really good. You get a bonus missionary, better land leader shock, better prestige and legitimacy. You still get the yearly papal influence. You still get get diplomatic reputation as well as the fort defense. But you lose out on the galley combat and the 50% naval force limit. As well as that really nice tolerance of heathens that the Knights got, but now it's being nerfed in Rights of Man, so that's not really relevant anymore. Unless you play on this save, on this version of the game. And lastly, this is the save where it ended. It's 1650. And as we can see, we've expanded. In 50 years, we have almost doubled in size, just taking over ludicrous amounts of land. I believe I took administrative ideas, just to get that reduced scoring cost to help out, paying for all these provinces. And then after that, the world is basically your oyster because everyone around you in this area is not going to be your religion, and so you can just Deus Vult, take as much land as you want to, because nobody would dare form a coalition on a 20 Miltech country when they've got Miltech 14. And yeah, so that's the Knights in a nutshell. That was my experience with them. That's what I would recommend doing. There are obviously other things you can do. For example, if you take over Greece, you can potentially expand into Spain if you're quick, similar to how you would play it as Albania. But yeah, I hope this was useful for helping you kickstart your own play, or was at least entertaining to watch, just to see how I did this campaign. But thank you for joining me, my fellow conquerors, and I'll see you guys on the next one.